Good morning, everybody. See, we've got my father, Dr. Wallach, with us again this morning. So it's Doc Monday this time around. And today's topic is obesity and weight management. And, why is that important? Well, as we all now know, there's been all the quarantine and the lockdowns and whatever you want to call it for several weeks now. And one thing that I see on social media over and over and over again lately is people are going to their refrigerator more than they should, and they're bored, they're stuck inside, so they eat, and they're eating things either they shouldn't or eating more than they should, and so it's a timely topic. The other thing is that pretty much any authoritative web source you go to or authoritative source you go to, it's pretty much agreed that in the United States, obesity, clinical designation of obesity, the population of the United States has exceeded 40% and is between 40 and 45% clinically obese. And so, it's a massive number of people we're talking about. And with obesity comes other bad things. And so the statistics show that things like asthma, diabetes, heart disease, even cancer increase as the rate of obesity increases. And so it's an important topic. And we talked about last week essential fatty acids in our health claim petitions that had been authorized by the FDA, showing that they reduce the risk of things like stroke and heart disease and deaths related to heart disease and so forth. And so this is another topic that affects a lot of people, and nutrition plays a major factor in terms of what leads to obesity and those additional problems. And with everything that we've been hearing about, things like cofactors or underlying health factors, comorbidities is the technical term, lead to earlier death. And so we want to avoid that, obviously. Last week, I sent an open letter to the White House, to the President of the United States, as well as to the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. And in my open letter, I point out that addressing these underlying factors and comorbidities is obviously important, and I encourage the Council and the White House to initiate things that public awareness campaigns. We all now know to sanitize our hands frequently, and the hard surfaces that we touch frequently, and social or physical distancing, and wearing masks and all of that stuff, right? So we've all gotten pretty good at that. But what we would like to see is as much emphasis put on initiatives to reduce those underlying factors that really are high risk factors for premature death. So weight loss and talking about weight management and obesity and things that lead to it seems like a very timely topic. And so my father, Dr. Wallach, has been talking about nutrients that help with metabolism. And he has something that he's lectured about for decades now called the seafood diet. And so I'm going to have him explain that. And also our Keto 90 and Rev 90 programs that have been very successful with our weight loss challenges and things like that. So good morning, Dr. Wallach and Dad.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for all that you do and all that the team does here at Youngevity. And certainly the pre-existing conditions is the term you're looking for. Mm-hmm. Pre-existing conditions increases your risk of death from the COVID virus by 98%. And the top 10 pre-existing conditions, obesity is number 4 or 5, depending on whose list you look at. And obesity and all the other pre-existing conditions, including high blood pressure, which is number 1, diabetes, which is number 2, and then we're looking at heart disease, asthma, those kind of things. The pre-existing conditions, including obesity, are all nutritional deficiency diseases. And understand, what do you mean nutritional deficiency? I'm eating too much, that's why I'm overweight. No, there's another piece there that you're not looking at or paying attention to. And it goes back to before we had electricity. And, people, grandma was very famous for going out in the backyard with a spoon and eating dirt 2 or 3 times a day. Or the kids would eat dirt. No, their mom would slap their hands. You can't eat dirt. Don't do that. And then they would also chew on their cribs. The babies would sit there and put their hands on the rail on the side of the crib, and they'd chew on that. And that's why they put that fiberglass or the canvas sleeve on there to prevent that, quote, cribbing, unquote. When a horse chews on the rail in a stall, it's called cribbing, just like the babies used to crib by chewing on the cribs. And it's all because of nutritional deficiencies producing a behavior called pica, P-I-C-A. You can look that up. And of course, I want you to get a hold of the books and the CD set called Hell's Kitchen, okay, which goes into exactly what Steve is talking about, all the pre-existing factors that made us the #1 obese nation in the world, or the United States is the #1 obese nation in the world. And also, you want to get a hold of the book, let's see here, Energy Crisis, which goes into the keto diet. And basically what you want to do when you're 10, 15, or 25, or 50, or 100 pounds or more overweight, you want to have 2 of your 3 meals a day, a keto meal. And I talk about this all the time on the air, on my radio programs and during my live lectures. The bar is very filling. The keto bar we have is very filling. And so I can only eat half of one. And 2 or 3 meals you could have, and it doesn't have to be the same meals every day. You can mix them up depending on your schedule. I might eat a half of a keto bar at breakfast and a half a keto bar at noon, or one at breakfast and one at dinner time. And then the next day I'll have a keto shake for breakfast, keto bar at noon or at dinner time, and just mix them up. Don't take a bar and a shake at the same time. That's defeating the purpose. But if you do that and take your 90 essential nutrients, okay, take your 90 essential nutrients and you can throw in the REV or the ASAP, drops under the tongue, say 30 minutes for each meal, even your keto meals, and you will lose a half a pound to 2 pounds a day. We do this literally thousands of times a month all over the world because that's one of my biggest calls is people are concerned about their body weight and why am I hungry after I just ate a 5,000 calorie meal? Why am I still hungry? Well, that's because you're missing certain nutrients. Any one of the members of a certain class of nutrients, if you're deficient in them, you're in trouble. And of course, the subtitle of the book, Hell's Kitchen, is the cause, prevention, and cure of obesity. The cause, prevention, and cure of obesity. It also discusses type 2 diabetes and the metabolic syndrome. And so you really want to get a hold of that book and the CD, Hell's Kitchen, and you want to get a hold of the book Energy Crisis. And it makes you understand why these programs that we have created with the keto meals and the keto shake and the keto bar, and of course the REV and the ASAP drops. And we have the other shakes just kind of break the monotony. And of course, our sports drink, Rebound, has 100 nutrients in it, 78 minerals. All the rest of them are primarily sugar and caffeine, may have 2 nutrients in it. So there's a big difference between 2 nutrients at 100. And so it doesn't take long. But suddenly now, you're not hungry after you ate, and you're losing a half a pound to 2 pounds a day. I have so many people that were 500, 550, 600 pounds. 7 months later, they're 155 pounds. And 7 years later, they're still 155 pounds because they're taking the 90 essential nutrients, they're taking in those nutrients. And so they don't have the pica behavior. Now, people used to do really weird things. I mean, they would eat the door jams. Grandma would sit there and chew on the door jams. And the kids, would again, eat the backs of the chairs and all this kind of stuff because they're missing these nutrients. And this pica, again, we discuss it in great detail in the book and the CD set, Hell's Kitchen, and the book Energy Crisis. Of course, the book Rare Earths and Cures, you want to get that one too and go to chapter 11, learn how to do a hair analysis, how to collect the hair, how to package it, where to ship it, and how to interpret the results when you get it back. The most important piece of information you're going to get from the hair analysis, are you absorbing or not? If all those bars from all the different minerals are below the bottom line, you're not absorbing. I mean, you don't even have to know how to read. You see those bars below that line, you're really in trouble there. And but let's say you do have some bars above the line, some below the line, so you know which ones to add extra to your program. And remember, to do this correctly, to get the maximum benefit from everything you're going to do, you cannot just take like the ASAP under your tongue and expect it to work by itself. You got to do everything. You got to get rid of the bad foods, fried foods, processed meats, oils, glutens, wheat bran, randos, so you can maximize your absorption of these nutrients. You maximize your absorption of nutrients, and suddenly your appetite goes away. I mean, I have to really force myself to eat. I eat 2 meals a day. I weigh about 142 pounds, and you know, I'm pushing 80 here in a couple of months, and most people think I'm 50 because I'm in good tone, and I still throw boxes and bags around and so forth, and help empty trucks and load trucks, especially when I'm out on the road and working with other distributors and things. I'm looking forward to that getting reinstituted here pretty soon. And we're going to change our scheduling a little bit. But a weight loss thing, we have so many testimonies that call in on the radios, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, and also Let's Play Doctor, because this works, because this is the problem. It's not just, oh, we'll eat differently and you're going to get better. No, that's like when a doctor says, and you're inquiring, well, should I eat differently? What do I need to eat to lose weight? The doctor says, well, just eat well, you get everything you need. Well, that doctor should be put in jail for reckless endangerment, because that would be the same as a mechanic telling you, just put dirt from Texas and Oklahoma in your Lamborghini instead of oil. Well, an insane person would laugh at them. You're not going to put dirt from Texas or Oklahoma in your Lamborghini. You're going to put a high-grade oil. So if you're going to survive and maximize your lifespan, add 25 to 50 healthy years to your life, you need to avoid the bad foods, get rid of the oxidants, the things that are going to cause plaque in your arteries. Cholesterol is not the cause of plaque in your arteries. It's oxidation of oils. Do not use the wishbone dressings and things like that in the restaurants or the tables. What you want to do is use our dressings, which are made from berries in our savor division. They're safe and they taste good. And you have to pay attention to those details. And that's why you need to read the book, listen to the CD, Hell's Kitchen, and you need to read the book, Energy Crisis, and you need to know how to use the book, Rare Earths Forbidden Cures. And this is a process. You have to know this stuff, especially if you're going to be helping other people with their health issues. And obesity is one of the prime and the top 5 pre-existing conditions that increase your risk of death when you get the COVID virus. And here's why. Think about it. When you're 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, 12, 15 years old and you get the coronavirus, you get mild symptoms of a common cold. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you might get a little more respiratory stuff. And usually treating it as a cold, it gets better and goes away. You get into your 40s and 50s, you're a millennial now, and you're getting a dry cough and your fever you get a fever now at 3 degrees, and they want to hospitalize you and put you in the hospital for 2, 3, 4 weeks and to put you on those ventilators. Most of the people who put on, like 80% of the people they put on ventilators die. So I don't want to do that, right? But the average age at death from the coronavirus is 80. So why is it that kids just get a mild cold-like symptom and the people who are over 65 get dead? Well, the difference is for 60, 70 years, they've been eating gluten. Their intestines are pretty much destroyed. They cannot absorb nutrients. And another piece they just picked up on, and I'll finish that thought in a second, is that there's so many people in their 40s and 50s getting blood clots, and they're dying of thromboses, pulmonary embolism, blood clots in the brain, blood clots in the heart. Again, these are these pre-existing factors, pre-existing conditions, and they didn't pay much attention before, but these blood clots are the things that oftentimes will actually ultimately be the cause of death when you die from the coronavirus thing. Well, what causes blood clots? A deficiency of a single nutrient. People say, what is it? What is it? What's that nutrient? Well, you read the books and it'll tell you. I'm not going to tell you because people will run to Walgreens, they'll buy that nutrient, and then they die. Because you need the other 89 cofactors. You can't just take one nutrient. This is why Youngevity has such a great record of doing well for people, because we insist that you do the whole 90. And if you need extra of something, we have special formulas. For instance, the basic pack we started, translated into human stuff, is the Healthy Start Pack. Okay. It has more than 100 nutrients, including all 90 essential nutrients. And then if you have diabetes, we threw in the sweeties and it became the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, because we put in the secret sauce, as we call it, with the basic program. And then if you need to lose weight, okay, now you have the Healthy Weight Loss Pack. Okay, and of course, you know about the keto shake and the keto bars and the Rev and the ASAP and so forth to add to that. And what happens if you have bone and joint problems and sciatica and stuff? Well, you get the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, and you throw in the MSM, vitamin D3, some collagen peptides, and your body has the capacity to heal itself. Your body will regrow connective tissue, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, rebuild the bone marrow cavity so you can make more white blood cells, which go out and kill and eat the viruses. That's what happens. The little kids, their bone marrow is still functioning and making white blood cells and antibodies. But when you've been eating gluten all your life, okay, and this is why the Italians have the highest rate of death from the coronavirus. It's 10% of those who are diagnosed with it die from the coronavirus because everything they eat is gluten, pasta, gluten, pizza crust, spaghetti, mac and cheese, mustacholi, okay, all that kind of stuff. Gluten, 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 gluten. It kills your intestines slowly. It's not like an on-off switch. It's a slow, gradual loss. And you start getting things like irritable bowel syndrome. You'll get things like colitis, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel syndrome. You get Crohn's disease, diverticulitis. All those things, when you look at them under the microscope, are the same disease. That's the advantage I have as a pathologist. I've looked at all those under the microscope. It's the same disease. Well, why do they give them different names? It's because they're located, the main symptoms are located in a different part of the GI system. And so they give it a name appropriate for that part of the GI system that's giving you the trouble. Okay, but if you get off of gluten, wheat, bran, rye, oats, you take your 90 essential nutrients, and in the 90 essential nutrients, of course, are the things that prevent blood clots in your brain, so you get a stroke, in your heart, so you get a coronary thrombosis, in your lungs, you get a pulmonary embolism, okay? And all of these things have to do with nutritional deficiencies. All of these pre-existing conditions are nutritional deficiencies. And this is why we are so good at helping people with these things. And if everybody were to get gluten-free, stay away from all the bad inflammatory foods, fried foods, processed meats, oils, glutens, wheat, bran, rye, oats, and sugar, and take the 90 essential nutrients, and I would use the bigger hammer in the toolbox right now, take the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack because it has more of those nutrients that actually prevent stroke from blood clots, has double in the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. So you won't get coronary thrombosis, you won't get a thrombotic stroke, okay? And so I would use again, I call it the biggest hammer in the toolbox. And then you throw in the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, and they will support healthy blood flow through even blocked arteries and support healthy blood pressure. If you stay away from the bad stuff, your arteries have a capacity to heal themselves, okay? And we have so many heart disease like AFib, atrial fibrillation. Remember, doctors killed the U.S. representative from Baltimore, Maryland, okay? You're talking about a 60-year-old guy. He was, I think, for almost 40 years. He was 68 years old and was 40 years in the Congress for Baltimore, Maryland. And Cummings, Isaiah Cummings was his name. And the doctor's approach to this nutritional deficiency is to anesthetize you, put you on the table, open your chest up, use a hot branding iron to try to burn out the part of your heart muscle that's making it go crazy. And they killed him. Why won't you just change your diet and take the 90 essential nutrients with the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets and the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, and it all goes away, and there's no risk of them killing you on the surgery table. So with that, I'm going to throw that back to you right now, Steve, and see if you have any questions or additions.
Sure. So, okay, great. Let's see, a couple things. In terms of weight loss, that's one of the things I love about the longevity community. It's so strong with people helping people. And so the Facebook pages of Rev 90 and Keto 90, not only are there great procedures to follow and kind of recipes and just steps to follow, which lead to better success in terms of meeting weight loss and healthy weight goals. The government statistics that they allow us to say are that I think weight loss from diet alone is 2.5 pounds per week maximum. And so, when we see success stories that are just so amazing, it's because Well, one, there's a lot of variables, obviously, and somebody with more weight to lose will lose more weight if they're successful than somebody that has less weight, which makes sense, right? And so also somebody smaller with less weight, still maybe a greater even weight loss percentage of their body weight. So all those things play a factor. But I guess my point is that the community of the longevity community of the weight management communities are a big part of people's success because they have a track to follow. And it's all based on your research and lectures. And I've heard you on multiple occasions talk about you can't out supplement a bad diet, and you touched on it 5 minutes ago, that you have to eliminate all the bad food, and everything's in moderation. And you also touched on the fact that the body heals itself. I mean, it was created to be a miracle healing machine. And so it's amazing when you give it the raw materials, the building blocks that it needs to do its job, and then you eliminate all the bad stuff, then things work. Like your analogy of putting the finest oil in a Lamborghini comes to mind. And so, it's when you're doing all the right things and eliminating all the wrong things, the body takes care of itself. It heals itself. It does its job. It does what it's supposed to do. So, it just is amazing to me. The Western diet really hampers the body's ability to do its job, to heal itself, because you're so all those bad foods are so accessible to people. Like you touched on, the what did you say, the Thousand Island dressing or whatever?
The nitrates and nitrites, the oils, the glutens, wheat, brown, rye, oats. These things are sort of prepackaged. It's what everybody eats. They advertise it on TV. It's in the school lunches. It's in these cafeterias. It's everywhere. And so everything that most people do is wrong. Okay, not because they're bad people. It's just they're surrounded by everything that's wrong. And you have to, that's why we came up with the book and the CD set, Hell's Kitchen. A kitchen can be a place of hell or heaven, depending on what you do in there. Okay, and it's in your own environment. I mean, and so you really, really have to control your environment. And then energy crisis. People think we need more energy when you do more work. No, you need more nutrients when you do more work. One, to clean up the byproducts of your cells metabolizing during work, but also to give your cells what they need to do an efficient job and not wind up with some terrible thing like a hemorrhage or whatnot. And again, these blood clots, they're all talking, well, we've discovered now all these young people in their 40s and 50s getting all these blood clots. We never saw that before. Well, sure they did. Okay, they would just say, oh, he had a stroke. Okay, it was just a blood clot because they had a nutritional deficiency of the nutrients prevents the blood clot. And that's why we have the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, which has double. Half the source is from plants, and the other half is from fish, that you get these omega-3s, and they're the nutrients that will actually reduce your risk significantly of blood clots. And so we've doubled up on it and doubled down on it, if you want to say it that way, with the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. And then you throw in, again, the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, and you throw in even collagen helps the walls of the arteries, the antioxidants, Cell Shield RTQ, the Ultimate, let's see here, Daily Classic, things like Immune 9/11, all these kind of things. You have to pay attention to those to clean up the damage you've done to your arteries. And the MSM will actually help your arteries rebuild the walls of the arteries, because 2/3 of the thickness of your arteries is connective tissue, the same stuff that's in your tendons and ligaments. Same way with your skin. The reason why my skin looks like I'm 50, okay, is because I've taken a lot of that stuff over the years, constantly. And when you look at it, most, especially women who get wrinkly when they're 40, 50 years of age, are going to go to a plastic surgeon. Well, they're using plastic surgery to try and resolve a nutritional deficiency problem. Okay.
Well, how much Botox in plastic surgery do you use?
Botox, yeah. Botulism toxin. Oh, you want to avoid botulism with everything you have, and now
that's not an essential nutrient.
Get wrinkles. It's a crazy thing, right? And so I'm so proud of Youngevity and all the things that you, Steve, and your team have done to put things together. And it's one of those things where the information's there. We have all the references. It's an amazing thing. Well, I'm amazed at ourselves at what we've put together here. But what is amazing to me is literally every month, the tens of thousands of testimonies we get. We get people, they haven't urinated in 10 years. I mean, they are full of you know what and vinegar, right? Because they haven't urinated in 10 years. And basically 6 days a week, they're getting dialysis. We put them on our program for dialysis. Okay, the healthy brain and heart pack, and you throw in the ultimate daily classic tablets, get rid of all the bad foods, fried foods, processed meats, and so forth, oils, glutens, wheat, brown, rye, oats, and sugar. And you'll lose a half a pound to 2 pounds a day, which goes along with our weight loss program. And if 2 of your 3 meals a day are your keto meals, and suddenly now, these people in 2 weeks' time, they're urinating again. So they drop them down to 3 days a week for dialysis. And then in 2 more weeks, they're off of dialysis after 25 years of being on dialysis. We do this over and over and over. And do you think the doctors want to know what we're doing? The answer is no. They don't want to know. Just, okay, thank you. Don't come back, bye, kind of thing, because they depend on people coming in and coming in and coming in and coming in for their livings. And remember, I'll give you 2 statistics here, and then I'll shut up for a minute, leave Steve talk. The CDC came out in 2004. I use this in my presentation every day. In 2004, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, government agency, not me, I'm just repeating what they published in medical journals and also in every newspaper in the world. Our children will be the first generation of Americans that do not live as long as their parents. What a horrible testimony. Okay? What a horrible testimony against the medical system. Our kids will be the first generation of Americans that do not live as long as their parents. It's not a genetic thing. It's not an autoimmune thing. Okay? And then 2016, Johns Hopkins, very famous medical school, came out, and they were doing a study for 20 years and on what kills Americans. They came out in 2016, medical journals, headlines in every newspaper in America. Simple mistakes in hospitals are the 3rd leading cause of death in America. Each year, now I'm quoting now, Johns Hopkins, each year in America, medical doctors kill 251,000 patients, their customers in their workplace, the hospital, from simple mistakes. Every 4 years, they kill 1 million of their patients, their customers in their workplace, from simple mistakes. They don't even get a parking ticket. And so shouldn't you be doing as much as you can for yourself so you don't have to inadvertently, unnecessarily putting yourself in that situation? Now, obviously, if you get run over by a concrete truck and you're bleeding internally, you need to go to the emergency room. But other than that kind of stuff, high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, obesity, congestive heart failure, those kind of things are all nutritional deficiency diseases. Okay, and one of them is kind of interesting. Let's see, it's a real serious form of osteoporosis. Okay, and the bones get like twice as thick as normal. You lose your minerals. Okay. But your bones get thicker with connective tissue. And I had a patient call me and said, well, Paget's disease is the name of it, P-A-G-E-T''S, Paget's disease. It goes back hundreds of years ago. It was recognized, named after a guy by the name of Paget, obviously. And he says, my doctor says I have Paget's disease, but he doesn't know how to help me. Well, this is just simple osteoporosis. Okay, use the big hammer, healthy brain and heart pack, throw in the collagen peptides, the glucogel, vitamin D3, throw in the MSM, get rid of all the bad foods so you can maximize absorption. In 2 weeks' time, your symptoms are going away. And in 4 weeks' time, you're really in good shape. And in 90 days, your Paget's disease is gone. And his doctor didn't even know how to help him.
And so it was it was a nutritional deficiency.
Yeah.
And, that's what we're talking about addressing. And it's, you've told people this for, again, decades, and I've experienced it personally myself, that nutrition is a blind spot for traditional medicine. They aren't trained in it. It's not required. I was in pre-med and the professors didn't want to have any conversations with me about nutrition. I tried to bring it up numerous times because of living with you, and it was not of any interest, and it was certainly in all my course requirements. Nutrition was not a required class, and so people on that track are busy taking the things that are required, obviously, and so nutrition is still a significant blind spot for traditional medicine, unless the individual has a personal interest in it. There's no requirement to this day for traditional healthcare professionals to get any nutritional training other than the basic 4 food group sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's another piece of this, Steve, and that is when you look at all the different hundreds and hundreds of pharmaceuticals that are available out there, all these pharmaceutical companies, all the drugs they've made and so forth, only antibiotics cure anything. Out of all the thousands of different pharmaceuticals out there, the only one that cures anything is antibiotics. It kills staphylococcus, streptococcus, salmonella, those kind of things. And even some other sort of non-bacterial bugs like mycoplasma can be killed with an antibiotic. All the other pharmaceuticals on the market are designed to treat the symptoms, not to eliminate the disease, but to eliminate the symptoms so you'll be happy. Okay? And so that's why people are turned into a milking machine, okay, by the pharmaceutical industry. And it's one of those things where if you have scurvy, okay, where you have bleeding and you get joint pain and you get all kinds of stuff going on when you have scurvy, well, if you take painkillers, oh, my joint pains, I just love my doctor. My joint pain went away after years and years and years. But the scurvy keeps getting worse if you don't change your diet and supplement.
Well, I love your analogy of it's like cutting the wire to the warning light on your car dashboard. It didn't go away. It's just the symptom was addressed, not the underlying problem.
That's correct. And so, like I say, I learned this when I was 9 years old. I've been doing this since I was 9 because I was going to be institutionalized because I had, what would be called autism today with Tourette syndrome. They didn't have a name for it back then. I was a pretty pushy kid, at 9 years old. I was very skinny and small, weighed about, 70 pounds or something like that. But I was really problematic, and my parents had taken me to 20 different doctors over a 5-year period, and they gave me talk therapy. They didn't even have Ritalin back then. They just gave me talk therapy, and they didn't want to quite put me on opioids yet back then. And so when I learned they were going to institutionalize me when I was 9 years old, I said, well, animals don't have these problems. So I began to eat animal foods, and in 3 days' time, I was cured. After 5 years of getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's what drove me in this direction, because it was so dramatic. The 20 different doctors couldn't figure it out. And here's a 9-year-old kid who couldn't even read and write because he was so disabled from autism and Tourette syndrome, which we have the names for him today, that I reasoned that we don't have those problems in animals, so I'll try and eat what they're eating. And in 3 days' time, I was cured for something that 20 different doctors couldn't fix in 5 years. That's pretty dramatic.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're about to wrap this up, but let's recap a little bit. What books for this topic did you recommend?
Okay, well, if we're talking about the weight loss thing here, remember that obesity is one of the pre-existing conditions that increase your risk of death from the COVID infection, because being overweight and obese is not eating too much, really. It's actually due to a nutritional deficiency, all right, which goes along with eating gluten. Your bone marrow is dead. You don't have enough white blood cells to run out there and kill and eat the viruses. You don't have enough stem cells in your bone marrow to make antibodies to kill the viruses. And so this is why people who are obese are at a higher risk of dying from COVID than somebody who's slim or younger, all right? And so I want you to eat 2 of the keto caramel meals a day. 2 or 3 meals a day should be a keto caramel diet. Get a hold of the book and CD set Hell's Kitchen. Get a hold of the book Energy Crisis. Get a hold of the book Rare Earths Been Cures. And don't forget the Rev and or the ASAP, a dropper full of that under your tongue, 30 minutes for each meal. And you'll be comfortable in cutting back to 2 of your 3 meals, a keto meal. Your 3rd meal, just eat vegetables. Just eat vegetables, like carrots and beets and celery and onions and that kind of stuff. And squash, sweet potatoes, like this morning for breakfast, I had 4 poached eggs. I had a medium-sized sweet potato with some butter on it. I had a little cup of yogurt, and I had my drink, my juju, we call it, kind of like the old witches used to call their mystery mixes juju, because there was good juju and bad juju. If they put the bad juju on you, they put the hex on you to kill you, and they gave you the good juju, they'd save you, right? So I call mine the juju, and it's basically the Osteo FX, the BTT 2.0 sticks, and also the Ultimate Cardio sticks. I take that little set in a bottle of Icelandic water at breakfast. I do that again at dinner time. And then again, for more than 70 years, I've been taking these 90 essential nutrients twice a day. I started when I was 9. And so I've been taking since we started this, 25, 30 years ago now, Steve, as a company. And so I'm taking 30, let's see, let me back up here. I'm taking 90 capsules, pills, and tablets twice a day. It's 180 tablets, pills, and capsules a day, okay? And that's because it gives me everything I need for every tissue, every organ, every cell in my body to maximize taking care of itself, getting rid of all the bad stuff. I mean, we don't even use that word, gluten, okay? That's why the Italians have such a hard time. Now, the Germans, our neighbor, they're the 5th, they get the 5th leading number of COVID infections in the world, the Germans. The Italians are number 2. They used to be number 1, but we became number 1. So now the Italians are number 2. The Germans are number 5, but they have the lowest death rate of anybody, 0.5% death rate from the COVID, whereas the Italians have 10%. They have the highest rate of death from the COVID, okay? That's because the Germans' source of carbohydrates is potatoes, corn, and rice. There's 44 nations in Africa. I think they have less than 200 COVID infections identified, like 8 deaths in all the 44 countries of Africa, because their carbohydrates come from potatoes, sweet potatoes, white potatoes, squash, corn, and rice. The same thing with India. One of the worst when it comes to personal hygiene in the world. Talk about stacking people up. There's like in every square foot of their land, there's 18 people in every square foot. I mean, it's like crazy. And yet they have the lowest rate of infection and death of anybody in the world because their carbohydrates come from potatoes, corn, and rice. No wheat, no wheat, no wheat. And all the wheat eating countries are the ones that are in trouble because gluten, you can't absorb nutrients. Even if they are there, you can't absorb them. So your stem cells cannot make white blood cells to go kill and eat the virus. That's what it's all about. So that's my summary.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you again for being on with us this morning. So we're going to wrap this up. Everybody stay safe out there, and look forward to talking to you again very soon. Thank you.
God bless, and thank you.